Good evening. On behalf of the commissioners and staff, I would like to welcome you to the January 28, 2025 City of Roseville Public Utilities Commission meeting. This 7-member commission is responsible for studying and advising the City Council regarding all utilities owned or operated by the city, including electric, water, wastewater, and solid waste. The Public Utilities Commission advises the City Council regarding planning, rates, public information, cable television franchises, and other matters relating to such enterprises, and may also hear citizen complaints as to operation or rates. The Public Utilities Commission also advises the City Council regarding the activities of such joint powers agencies as the city may be a member of or which relate to such utility enterprises. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone, please put your electronic devices on silent. Thank you. Kara, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner DeLacy?
Here.
Commissioner DeMarchi?
Here.
Commissioner Knox has an excused absence. And then Commissioner Maish?
Here.
Commissioner Springer has an excused absence as well. Commissioner Webb? Here. And Chair Bielski?
Here.
Awesome.
Commissioner DeLacy, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Fellow commissioners, staff, and honored guests, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Okay. All right. Public comments. Item 4 on the agenda is public comments. This item is for anyone who would like to address the commission on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the commission, please state your first and last name for the record. Anyone want to come forward? Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Item 5.1 is approval of the November 26, 2024 meeting minutes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
One second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? There you go. Thank you. The minutes are approved. Requests and presentations. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. And I think I note that all items tonight are informational. Item 6.1, Roseville Electric Utility Monthly Update. Report by Chief Operating Officer Sean Matcham, summarizing the monthly status of electric utility activities for information.
Yes, good evening, Chair Bielski, members of the Commission. Sean Matcham with the Electric Department. I have just a few items to update the Commission on. We have a meaningful presentation here after this update on the Electric Department. But before getting to that, just a few items noteworthy that I think good for you and the public to understand. The first item is related to an item that I've mentioned before, and that is related to the 2025 American Public Power Association Line Workers Rodeo. You may recall, I think at our November update, I did note that we are, the City of Roseville and the Electric Department is hosting a national event here at the end of March 28th and 29th. And it's really a competitive event that draws electric utilities and line crews and their families nationwide to here in Roseville. We're going to be hosting this event at the fairgrounds, partnership with the grounds and Placer Valley Tourism. And it's really to highlight the skills and the expertise and the safety that is involved with our line crews that are out there in the field during all hours. This, as you may recall, is an event that Roseville participated in for maybe 15 years nationally and traveled and competed and had great success. And so we had an opportunity to bring that event to Roseville. Our utility director, Dan Beans, is on the American Public Power Association, APPA Board of Governors, Board of Directors, and was really effective in raising the visibility of Roseville for this event. And so that's coming here in late March. I mention it tonight because the real work has begun in terms of field prep out at the grounds, installing about 150 poles, utility poles, that will be the basis for the competition. It will highlight safe conditions, best practices. It's a great event for us to help promote recruiting and learn what others in this industry across the nation is doing. It also has an opportunity to be tremendously valuable for our community, our local businesses, and there's a tremendous business economic benefit to bring such a national event to Roseville. We expect somewhere between 5,000 to 8,000 folks to move through the grounds and be here in Roseville during that weekend. And all the real work in the field is happening. We're working certainly across our department to make sure everything is ready for us to host the event. We're working with other departments in the city. And so we're excited to do this. We learned about this event maybe late last summer, early last fall, that we were the recipient. So I just wanted to note that work is underway at the grounds. Very excited. We also will have our own teams competing in this again. So it's good for education, it's good for training, but there's an undercurrent of real competition here, and they do awards and trophies. We're very excited about the event. The ceremonies will include skydivers, F-15 fighter jets, 4 of them. And so it's going to be an exciting event for the community and for the families. And there's all sorts of family events that will be there, and a concert as well. So won't belabor it, but a lot of work happening at the department and across the city for us to make this happen.
So is it open to the public?
Oh, yeah, great point. So it's open to the public. It's actually a free event. And so on March 29th, Saturday, opening ceremonies start around 8 o'clock. And then the competitions go through through midday, late in the day. And then anyone can participate, anyone can attend. It's a free event. And so they get to look and see firsthand, up close, what those folks do in the field. Normally, you don't get a chance to get up this close, and they're normally working out in adverse conditions, and there's a risk always involved. But this gives the community, those that want to participate, an opportunity to get a firsthand look up and close what our line crews do. We have a lot of volunteers that are going to be out there as well helping, and so a lot of people involved, a lot of planning, and we're coming down to the wire on it now. No pun intended. The second thing I wanted to mention is also an update on an item that I shared in November. And you may recall at that time, the electric department ended up learning we had some meaningful damage to one of our combustion turbines out at our Roseville Energy Park. For us, that means that half of our primary power plant is unavailable. So we go from 160 megawatts to 80 megawatts of generating capacity. Since that time, and it just happened, I think, when I briefed this commission in November, we really have been doing a lot to understand what happened on the site and to really plan a path forward for getting the repairs done as fast as we could. At that time, we were really just trying to assess what happened and what the options were available to us. Since that time, we've been able to have the engine manufacturer converge here on Roseville. Siemens is the generator manufacturer. So I just want to provide a brief update on that. For basically most of January, a Siemens team did come to Roseville and work at the Roseville Energy Park to dismantle the combustion turbine and really take all the major components apart. And so that's a meaningful undertaking. That took nearly the entire month to do. And at the end of the month, we did get a good look at the extent of the damage, and it was significant. And you may recall when I briefed the commission previously, we were looking at at that time, we thought we had 2 potential options. One is open up the case, open up the turbine, and hopefully we could just replace damaged parts. Or if the damage was really extensive, we were looking at a more comprehensive module replacement. And that put us on 2 very different paths for returning the plant to full production. The good path was parts come back sooner. The longer-term path was major overhaul components, and that puts us past next summer or this summer. So I'm glad to report that what we learned through the investigation this month here, which just wrapped up recently, is that we are able to go the parts route. And so we're going to order all the parts that we need to reconstruct the turbine, replace the damaged components. And we'll be getting those parts over the next month. That's the plan. They'll be shipped in from all over the world. And then we're going to dedicate the late March and early April. Siemens is going to arrive on site again with their team and spend about another month reassembling the units. And so that puts us on a path of having the REP back to its full capacity in late April, early May, which is tremendously valuable for us as we look at what loads will be as we go into the summer. So that's the plan now. At the time, we weren't really sure what the costs were. We were estimating $3 to $4 million. It's a little over $5 million, what the information we have now, which as bad as that sounds, is much better than what the alternative could have been. We are working with our insurance broker and the insurance team here at the city. This will be an insurance claim. And we brought on a firm to do a root cause analysis to really understand how this happened and what, if anything, we need to do following that. So we're really doing a deep dive on it and seeing what the long-term implications are. But our goal is to get the plant back as soon as we can, and it looks like, well, the information we have now is to get it back here in late April, early May before the summer. So that's very important for us as we look at loads escalating. And we'll see what the water year looks like. It started off really good, and so we'll see what's in store in terms of what that means for our hydro production. So a brief update on that. Overall, good news. It hasn't affected our ability to serve the community, even with the plant down as it's been since November. Loads on our system in our community don't really present a challenge for us. So I think I said last time, never a good time to lose half your power plant, but if it's going to happen, this is the right time of year to happen. So all things in order to get it back for the summer.
Question for you. Didn't this something similar happen a few years, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't specifically related to this. We did have some damage on one of our other turbines, the support structures. So this is actually internal turbine blade damage, combustion turbine blade damage. What we dealt with before was really due to a vibration, a cracking of the support structure. So
I'd heard maybe there were some lubrication issues, lack of lubrication, lack of...
Yeah, we're not seeing that. Yeah, we're not seeing that as this. I think this, we're really looking into it. I don't have definitive information, but we were replacing a meaningful part of the unit, what we call the variable frequency drive. And so think of it as a crank to help get the engine going before we let the turbine go. So we're looking at the combination of how that install with our vendor went on the installation of that variable frequency drive and how we were starting up the unit. So I think we're looking at that as maybe generally a root cause, but specifically what happened there, we're still looking at.
Okay.
Yeah. A couple more items real quick. The next thing I'll mention, and I don't have a lot on this, but I just wanted to put it on the radar, and that's related to what has been happening down south with respect to the fires in the LA area. We've been watching closely from an electric utility perspective what's been happening. The electric utility, we'd been part of, when the fires initially started, we've been part of a utility group to discuss, to get updates, and then also offer assistance through mutual aid in case we wanted to send crews down there to help the response and restoration of the number of utilities down there impacted, LADWP, Pasadena, Burbank, a number of them. And so many of them are our partners in public power. And so the only thing I mentioned on this that's most notable, we offered mutual aid, didn't have to send anyone down. I think there's going to be some meaningful implications from a regulatory standpoint that will ultimately come out of this. I think this ultimately will be a focus of the legislature going forward. As an electric utility here, even though we operate not in a high-risk fire zone, we do maintain and update and implement a wildfire mitigation plan as we're required to do. We've done that every year. We've done that for some time now. I think it's fair to say that based on what will ultimately come out of the events down south, we'll want to revisit some of our practices and assess whether we're doing everything that we need to do through a new lens now. I think when we looked at it historically, we do everything right, following the law, really prudent practices in place in terms of our maintenance and inspection, our tree removal program. We have a vendor, a contractor that's integrated into our crews that stays on top of veg management in our community, works with customers and helps support our maintenance and capital work. We don't do public safety power shutoffs right now. I think we're going to want to look at a host of different practices for us as we operate under this, what I think will be a heightened regulatory oversight once all this settles down south. So that's on our radar. We did offer support and mutual aid, but ultimately didn't have to send anyone down there. Last thing I'll mention is also an item that I updated the commission on in the past, and that's related to the building that is just across Vernon Square here. I had, I think, provided previous updates to the commission saying we were on the cusp of moving in, and both times I mentioned that, we had slight delays. So I'm here tonight to say we're packing up boxes and we're moving all our management and administrative function here to 116 South Grant Street. The top 2 floors of that facility, which we've been renovating for the last year, is now complete. The cleaners are in there. There's boxes in my office to move. And so we're very excited to bring more of our team at the electric department together in one facility. We've been separated. Some key groups that typically work very closely together have been separated for the last couple years as we've moved through the building or built out the building. So we're moving in next week. So we're very excited as an organization. We're very excited as a team. We have new facilities, new accommodations, and it's really going to help the folks here downtown, the business community, to have more foot traffic, more people downtown. And I know our staff's very excited to be able to walk to lunch, walk to things like that instead of out where we are now. Our 2090 site will become the main facility for our operations and field crews, and they'll make some changes out there. But glad to say we're moving into our new building next week, and I'm guaranteeing you it's not going to be delayed. So with that, those are my department updates, and I'm glad to answer any questions on those updates or anything else you have on the department.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question. Going back to the turbine, they're still digging into the root cause. So do we not know whether or not it was a faulty equipment?
Yeah, so I think we have a good handle on it. I'm reluctant to speak too definitively because we don't have our root cause analysis back. But I think we've tuned it down. We've really honed in on the logic and programming that operated and controlled the variable frequency drive, that VFD, that helps start the CT, the combustion turbine. There's a combination of things that happen during startup. So think of a crank motor that gets the turbine spinning. And as the turbine gets spinning, natural gas the fuel is injected in, it gets ignited in a combustion turbine, and then it takes over. Yeah. And then you release the crank. So we believe, and it's early, that the logic or the programming that controlled when the VFD released the turbine may not have been working correctly, may not have been programmed correctly. So that's where we are, but we are waiting to get the root cause analysis. And if that's the case, we'll have to figure out, if there's a path forward, if there's some other liability from our vendors that contributed to that. I think that might be maybe valid to mention. It's early to say that, but that's kind of, I think, what we're seeing right now internally.
That makes a lot of sense. I've worked with a lot of variable speed drives, for big fans, and have the same issue. If you don't program that thing right, you can cause, bring it up too quickly, yep. You can cause major damage.
Yeah, I think the situation, I think what we're thinking happened as the turbine fuel was injected into the turbine and it's supposed to pick up faster and take over. We're looking at whether the VFD was holding back the turbine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So in terms of recouping the costs, the insurance will only prorate based on the age and usage, correct?
Not necessarily. I think when we look at this, we're going into this looking that nearly the full amount would be covered through our insurance program. And so that's to be determined, but we're going into it with that perspective. We did, as part of Siemens coming to Roseville and opening up the unit, we did have our insurance broker, we did have the coverage, the providers, we also had a customer advocate here, and we had our root cause analysis firm here. So everybody had a chance to get a close look and see it. So I think we're looking at this as we've had all the support, everyone had visibility to it, and we haven't heard anything that should suggest we wouldn't get coverage yet. But again, we're early in that process, but that's our take at this point.
How old is the turbine?
Turbine was put in place and went operational in 2007. I think the plant was built in 2005. So these turbines are of that vintage.
They can have a long life, so.
Yeah, they're good, yeah. We have some that have, on our older power plant, they're of the Cold War era in the mid 80s. So,
Yeah, I'm
you know,
not surprised.
this is not an end-of-life issue, I don't think at all. Yeah. They're actually, our Roseville Energy Park is one of the newer gas turbine units in the state of California, built at that time. As you probably recall, it was been very difficult to build gas plants since that era. So these are very efficient very efficient heat rate, very effective combined cycle power plants. They use steam to reproduce, as you are well aware, run a steam turbine. So this is an old technology in the context of gas turbines in the fleet in California.
If you don't mind, I'm a little out of sequence here, but I know the STIG units have reached end of life. If you run into problems getting this back online and the STIG's also down, do we have enough energy for the summer?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. We will go out and probably buy additional capacity as well as a reserve margin. I'll mention we also were able to acquire the DWR units that are 50 megawatts that were added to the portfolio in November. So just big picture here, all the moving parts for us on the resource portfolio on the generation capacity, 80 down with REP. 18 down with the STIG gone. We picked up approximately 50 with the acquisition of the DWR units. So that still allows us to serve the community. If the REP, for example, was down through summer, we would certainly still go out and secure certain capacity across the peak as an option and reserve margin. We don't think we need to do that, but with REP coming back, we're pretty confident it's going to come back before the summer. We don't have any concerns, and even if it didn't, we don't think we would have trouble backfilling the reserve margin over the summer.
I know there's a presentation later on STIG units, but there's no reason they'd be any more susceptible to, shorter life than any other turbine.
No, yeah. The ones that you'll hear the presentation on are very old and even a slightly different technology than a combined cycle plant. They burn fuel in the turbine. They also get steam injected in the same turbine, which is slightly different technology than what we use at REP. But they are at the end of life. I think the thing with the STIG, they're NCPA owned. We have an entitlement through NCPA. It's been on the radar for us some time to make that overhaul and replacement, and then as we were gearing up to do that, it just ended up having a problem right before. So we're bringing items to repower that to our council as well. You'll hear a little bit about that tonight.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission at this time on this item? Okay. All right, thanks, Sean.
Cool. I'm going to set up here with the team when they come up.
Okay. All right. Item 6.2, Roseville Electric STIG repower update, presented by Assistant Electric Director Bill Forsyth and Power Supply and Portfolio Administrator Petra Wallace, provide an overview of the Northern California Power Agency's proposed STIG repower project for information. Hi.
All right, since Sean just gave the presentation, any questions? Chair Bielski, Vice Chair Webb, Commissioners. So we're going to talk in a little more depth than Sean did about the STIG unit. So I guess we can go right. Oh, and with me is Petra Wallace, our Power Supply and Portfolio Administrator. So we're both going to kind of tag team this presentation tonight. So what is the STIG? As Sean pointed out, it's a little different than other gas turbines. So it's a steam-injected natural gas turbine that NCPA commissioned in 1996. As you could look at that map, it's located at the same site as the Lodi Energy Center. On that map, you can see Highway 12, that's I-5. It's just north of Stockton, near the city of Lodi. So the STIG is a GE LM5000 turbine. And the big issue with the STIG was it was a technology that came onto the market in the 80s. It was seen to solve multiple problems, to have cleaner emissions with the steam injection. And the steam being injected, you could also get a little more efficiency out of it. But GE didn't sell a lot of these turbines. They never really caught on. The units that we have, the new ones from DWR, LM2500s, a lot of those out there. And then the LM6000, which we'll talk a little more about, really overshadowed these LM5000s. So with that history, most utilities have already retired their LM5000s. There's no spare parts available, and the last maintenance contractor was Air New Zealand, and Air New Zealand doesn't work on these anymore. So we have no spare parts, no ability to get any parts, and nobody to come in and tear it open and do the work. So in December, NCPA declared the unit was unsafe to run. In October, they started to get very high vibrations on the unit, and it kept tripping. They brought in an outside engineer. They did really thorough investigations, and they said that because we don't have blast walls adjacent to the turbine, you need to expect it could just completely fall apart. So December 2024, we have officially called it end of life. So a little more background on the STIG is the ownership of it. So it's a 49.9 megawatt generating unit, and that 49.9 is important because if it's 50 or larger, it needs to be licensed by the California Energy Commission. So this isn't licensed by the CEC. Roseville has 36.5%. So as Sean mentioned earlier, about 18 megawatts. There was 4 partners when we originally did the STIG: Roseville, the city of Lodi, Alameda, and Lompoc. And so in this, the agreement that we all have with NCPA that we operate under, we're all responsible for our share of financing it, constructing it, operating, maintaining, and key item is decommissioning at the end of life. So move to the next slide. So going forward, 3 of the 4 participants want to continue. The city of Alameda wants to leave. And so with Alameda wanting out, they're still going to retain their obligation for their share of decommissioning.
So, okay, then I can take over here. Good evening, everyone. So we analyzed or took a look at the decommissioning versus repowering of the STIG. So we got like some estimates from engineers that the decommissioning cost would be about $21 million, and that would mean they take everything away from the site and they restore the site. And then Roseville's share would be about $8 million or almost $8 million out of that $21 million. That would leave us a stranded value. So the generator and the transformer are not at the end of life. and then the 49.9 megawatts of CalISO interconnection capacity. So that's something that it's very valuable for everybody in California, because I think in earlier presentations we mentioned that it's very hard to build new generation and interconnect to the CalISO system. So the option to repower is about $48 million that NCPA has received as an estimate. Roseville's share would be $21 million of that $48 million, because, as Bill mentioned earlier, Alameda won it out, and Roseville and Lodi stepped up to take Alameda's share. So Roseville's share would go up from 18.2 megawatts to 22 megawatts of this new repower. So we took a look at it and analyzed it a little bit and did some math, but the repower, it's an additional $13.3 million compared to doing a decommissioning of the full site. And that would give Roseville basically an extra 22 megawatts that, we lost 18.2. This would give us an incremental megawatt, and then with our expected increased load or demand in Roseville, that it's a very reasonable and affordable capacity price, that it's somewhat local, and we have a good share of it. So on the next page, what we are working on is a second phase agreement that we are working with NCPA and the members who would like to repower STIG. The scope of work would include a project survey, performing preliminary investigations, prepare designs, and develop a detailed project schedule. And we would also place a deposit with GE for an LM6000 turbine and controls. The fiscal impact of this agreement, or phase 2 agreement, is about $2.3 million. So again, this $2.3 million would pay for all the studies, do the deposit for GE, and all the above listed items. So that's what we are working towards. And once the studies and the surveys are done, then all the members of NCPA who want to repower the STIG can decide if they would like to move ahead with the repower, or if nobody wants to move forward, then the second phase agreement would be terminated in 10 years after it has been executed. So again, it gives us a little bit more time to make sure the surveys and the investigations are all ready and on a timely basis. So the STIG repower benefits, Bill mentioned that the LM5000, there wasn't that many around. With the LM6000, there's over 1,200 installed worldwide, which is a high number when you look at power plants. Spare parts and repair services are readily available. Again, it's U.S. manufactured, so we have a little bit more availability than with some of the other power plants. The estimated completion of the repower would be May 2027, and again, everybody has that goal, so the capacity and the generation it's available for the summer, where everybody's load is high. It has a more efficient heat rate than the current STIG because it's newer and more efficient, and it also have an ability to blend hydrogen, so to use hydrogen as a fuel instead of natural gas, so that it's also a benefit us participating in it, and then with the regulatory requirements changing, this could be a positive generating resource for Roseville. When we looked at the payback time of this investment, we estimated it in 9 years. So in 9 years, the investment would pay back just with capacity and energy needs. So next steps, we are planning to take the second phase agreement to City Council in February for consideration, so we can do the studies and the surveys. So after that, we can decide on repower or not and have a final price. And once we take it to council, NCPA, and if it gets approved, then NCPA expects to execute the second phase agreement among the parties who would like to repower the STIG in March 2025 or before. Any questions?
I have one. The ability to burn some hydrogen is huge. 80% hydrogen is, and that's the way we're going as a state, at least for now. When it's blended, will it be blended with natural gas, or can you use like an off gas, like?
I believe it's natural gas, but yeah.
Yeah, so
But if that's not available,
yeah, this is actually a unique opportunity. NCPA has been part of what's called the ARCHES effort that's trying to, there's a number of groups around the country that are getting federal grants to develop hydrogen. And NCPA was a big participant in what's called ARCHES in California. And so NCPA and others are looking to build a hydrogen hub right in Lodi. So their primary focus has been the Lodi Energy Center, which this unit literally is yards away from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a realistic opportunity that hydrogen could fuel this plant. And yes, it does get blended with natural gas.
will you be able to use natural gas to blend it in future years? That's the question.
There's nothing that says you can't use natural gas going forward. It becomes a compliance issue. So you have to get cap and trade allowances to offset the carbon, the natural gas you burn. So it'll just get more expensive. And
I thought our state was mandating that you had to be rid of natural gas, period.
yeah, I think the 80%, another, I guess, key part about the 80% is that's what we understand from GE. It's capable on day one. So it's not to say it couldn't be retrofitted, further retrofitted, and possibly do even higher levels of hydrogen. But that's
Possible,
the way
yeah.
it shows up at the site, is it's
Right,
80%
right.
capable, as is the units we recently got from DWR. Those are also hydrogen, about 80% capable.
Maybe just to add a little to your question, so 2045, zero carbon, right? I think that's what you're referring to. So 20 years away, there's a goal for utilities to be carbon-free. We're not sure what technology is going to prevail to get us there, right? I mean, just candidly. And so maybe hydrogen becomes a full fuel source at that point. But one of the things that we've learned, despite what are these lofty goals for carbon reductions and certainly for utilities, that's happening on one hand. And on the other hand, we work and talk with and hear from regulators that, on the other hand, says 85% of the current gas fleet is still going to be needed for the foreseeable future, even with carbon-free goals. And so natural gas, I think, it's a fair question about what we should be doing in terms of investing in major capital assets that have a long life. Will they be stranded? I think the timeframes we're looking at for this project and even the projects that we've done here locally with DWR and what we're looking to do at some of our other sites, we see natural gas being very important for the foreseeable future. And we're certainly going to do everything we do to meet the regulatory requirements set by the state. But at the same time, we're a load-serving entity, right? We have a responsibility of serving the community, making sure the residents and businesses have what they need to be successful, our business certainly, and powering the community. So this, I think when we look 20 years out, there may be some uncertainty on what technology ultimately prevails or if the regulations shift. But I think, and I've said this before, I think when we start talking about our resource investments, particularly around generating capacity, this is really continuing what we say is our approach at the department is stay at the table on our resources. We're not at all interested in losing capacity out of our portfolio right now, right? And so this is, as you saw, a very cost-effective addition for capacity. Despite what might be a rule in 20 years, we can't let capacity get out of our portfolio because it's so hard to add. It's so difficult to bring online. And so I think it's fair to say what beyond 2045 looks like. But I have a joke internally. I got to get through 2030. I got to still serve 2035. I still got to serve 2040. Again, not kicking the can down the road too far, but it's good to have these long-term goals. But we still got to get through every summer between now and then.
And we don't know what the political climate will be in.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And what other tools may be afforded to utilities to help meet those carbon goals, right? Maybe there's new technologies in offsets and carbon sequestration, and that plays a role in net zero or zero carbon resources. So all the answers are not in front of us, but as an organization and as a department, we've taken the approach to where we can not let capacity leave the portfolio, and where it makes sense, act on getting new capacity and make what we have better. All at the same time, we're going to try to meet all the regulatory requirements as well.
Good answers.
So what is the expected lifespan of this potential new unit?
30 years.
Okay. Okay.
So if we stay under 50, then we bypass the CEC licensing. Okay, and then that may offset some of the potential issues with compliance with.
No,
Not necessarily.
it's not going to mitigate the greenhouse gas compliance.
That's CARB.
Yeah, and as Petra was saying, the interconnection capacity is very valuable. Right now, if you wanted to build a greenfield site, whether it's solar, wind, whatever, it's many years in the interconnection process. And Northern California Power Agency is looking to make some improvements to the Lodi Energy Center through a state grant program, and it's going to add about 20 megawatts of incremental capacity. And their project is just on the sidelines because it has to be studied by the ISO. So this 49.9, it's what we have. It's readily available. The unit we're looking at, this LM6000, that's what it'll produce. So as echoing what Sean and Petra said, the opportunities here, people are repowering. They're not building. There isn't any greenfield sites, or we're not aware of greenfield gas turbines being built. But many other munis like us are pursuing repower projects because it's kind of the last of the gas units in the state are these repowerings.
Right.
Do the participants have an opt-in, opt-out option? Let's say Lodi now wants 60%, or Lompoc says, you know what, we're done. How does that work?
We're at that, I guess, we've already been through that stage. That's actually in the agreement that we're going to bring to council for consideration. So we've already kind of diced it up. Lompoc's taken as much as they can. They have a pretty small load, and us and City of Lodi agreed to pick up the rest.
Do we know why Alameda opted out?
Alameda has very aggressive carbon reduction. I mean, they're trying to be carbon zero now, and so they see this as from a policy perspective. That's why they want out.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I was also curious about the strategy, but I think in answer to Ed's question, I got all the answers I wanted. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission at this time? Okay, well, thank you, Bill and Petra. I didn't ask you about the duck curve, so
Next time.
next time.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6.3, Environmental Utilities Monthly Update, report by Environmental Utilities Director Sean Bigley. Summarizes the monthly status of the environmental utilities activities for information.
Yeah, so good evening, Chair Bilski and the members of the PUC. So Sean Bigley, Environmental Utilities Director, glad to be here tonight and provide you with a relatively quick update in terms of some of the activities within environmental utilities. So first, just a real quick update. As you know, we're developing our aquifer storage and recovery well system. That's been an ongoing process over many, many years. Right now, we're focused in on the next set of ASR wells. One is actually located at the Campus Oaks development area. So right off of Blue Oaks, if you kind of are around Nugget or so, you'll see that there's a lot of development going on in that area. We do have a dedicated parcel out there that was dedicated as part of the development agreement to build an ASR well in that location. And then if you go down Pleasant Grove near Misty Woods, we actually have a site that was acquired to develop the second ASR well. So what we do typically is we'll develop those wells 2 at a time. And just to give you a quick update in terms of where we're at. So in terms of the downhole development, actually drilling the hole, casing, et cetera, testing and doing all the water quality analysis, that was actually completed in late 2023. In terms of the design of the above ground facilities, so pumps, motors, piping, everything that's involved there, that design actually was completed in 2024. And we're at the phase now where we're actually going to begin construction of those facilities starting in April 2025 once the season starts wrapping up as far as precipitation, with about an 18-month construction duration. So you'll start to see construction happening at those sites. Campus Oaks isn't very visible to most folks, but you'll definitely be able to drive by on Pleasant Grove if you drive slow enough to see what's going on there. So we'll keep you posted on development of those ASR wells. After that, the capital plan, we have envisioned 2 more ASR wells that we would like to pursue after that. And we're always looking out for potential property or sites that we can acquire in the future for other ASR wells as we go on forward. But those are would be the last 2 at least as we currently have planned. A couple of updates regarding water system resiliency and security. So I'll kind of break this up a little bit. So with the last rate case that was approved, we actually budgeted some funds to actually look at resiliency of our system, just in terms of both sort of, mostly in terms of just sort of natural threats that are out there. But also we budgeted funds through the rate case for security improvements at our facilities. And so recently we've seen a variety of different circumstances where there's been attempted break-ins. We often get people trying to vandalize our facilities, things like that. And so what we wanted to do is make sure we're protecting the ratepayers' assets. So on the security front, what we're currently working on, and you'll start to kind of see this happening pretty visibly within the community, is we're actually implementing fencing around a lot of our facilities, our ASR wells. We just are about ready to complete fencing around our dual-purpose pump station off of Pleasant Grove. And there's some other pump stations out there that we're actually installing fencing to prevent folks from getting into these facilities and causing damage. In addition, we're also looking at improvements as far as some of the alarm systems that we have in place and improving upon those. We're also changing security protocols at our water and wastewater facilities relative to a variety of different things like ensuring people aren't tailgating through facilities, making sure that folks are identified clearly in terms of visitors, things like that. So we have a policy that we're actually implementing right now to really strengthen those controls. And then obviously surveillance cameras and utilizing that technology, in some cases improving that technology so that we can actually ensure those facilities remain secure and safe. And then finally, in terms of the security realm, we're actually starting a round of training exercises or training opportunities for our staff in environmental utilities. I was fortunate last year to attend training over at Texas A&M. They have their engineering extension school out there, and I participated in a basically an emergency operations sort of immersion training over 3 days that kind of got me really kind of plugged into the ICS system, the Federal Emergency Management System, and really gets you really deeply thinking about preparedness in the context of utilities. It so happens that this program has a variety of training that's specific to water and wastewater industry. So there's training on operational technology in the context of cybersecurity. There's also training relative to making sure that the water and wastewater sector is prepared and ready to deal with emergency situations, but also recover from emergency situations. So going to do that training last year, I was able to work to actually have TEECs come out and do some training here in Roseville in some cases. So we're going to start that training among some of our water and wastewater staff. But also, in some cases, we'll be sending some of our staff out to College Station, Texas, at the Texas A&M University site to do some of that training as well. So really kind of honing in on that and getting ourselves very well prepared and trained up for those circumstances as they may arise. We talked a little bit about resiliency, and Sean did at least covered that. A couple of things that we've been working on for the past 2 to 3 years is just increasing the resiliency in some of our utility assets. One is really trying to make sure that our generators are working well and are updated. So in one case, we're actually going to begin procurement for a replacement generator at our dual-purpose pump station. This is diesel generated so for emergency backup situations to maintain pressure in our system and to be able to move water within the system. And then we're also looking at actually portable backup generators to be procured for our ASR well sites as well. So being able to plug those in at the right time to provide resiliency to our system. And there's a whole other sort of list of different improvements that we have planned, but these are a couple of the most recent ones for your information. And then finally, I'll just close. We had an event that is actually its second year in running. It's our Succulents to Soup Drive. This is through the Utility Exploration Center. And essentially what it is it's a blend of conservation education and kind of creating an opportunity for the community to kind of give back to those that are in need. So the way it works essentially is that we call upon folks to donate food, and in exchange, in a partnership, we provide a succulent plant. So it really kind of incentivizes folks during the holidays to actually provide canned food goods that can be provided to those people that are in need. We had a really good results. Ultimately, we were able to provide over 6,000 pounds of food to the community. That actually went to the Roseville St. Vincent de Paul Society. Was the recipient of that, and in exchange, 500 succulent plants were given away. And that was in partnership with Green Acres, who participated with us on that event. So essentially, with that, I'll just kind of close out and ask if you have any questions of me.
Hi, Sean. I was talking to a friend of mine who lives out on the far west side, and the question of groundwater came up. And so I was thinking about it, and do we have enough transmission capacity through the system to fully feed everybody on the west side in real time with our storage tanks with surface water, or do we need to supplement during those peak periods with groundwater during the day? I'm just curious whether or not we blend groundwater at all, or only use it when there's some sort of an emergency.
Yeah, typically it's only used in an emergency situation. So it's when we activate our ASR wells, it's either because we have some kind of part of our system that's not, basically operating sufficiently, and so we have to somehow back that up through the use of the ASR wells. There have been extreme circumstances where we get into extreme droughts, and sometimes we are called upon to be able to activate those wells in certain circumstances. And it's usually, as an example, 2021 was pretty severe in terms of a drought. But typical operations, I don't know, we're pretty much surface water fed system, and that's kind of how we operate day to day.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Thanks.
Yep.
Question, you mentioned increased security, which is so important.
Yeah.
With power plants all over the country. Not just from external threats, but internal threats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if a disgruntled employee decides to do damage to a power plant, he's in a control room,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, the damage he could do is enormous. And so background checks are so important, ongoing background checks. It's just vital.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely from an internal perspective. And, the other thing that we have benefit of is we're part of what's called Water ISAC, which is essentially it's a information source that provides sort of the latest trends in terms of cybersecurity threats, physical threats, from both sort of domestic and international sources. And so it's a really good resource for water and wastewater professionals to really understand what's out there in terms of the threat environment. And then even, in the context of cybersecurity, oftentimes people think about cybersecurity attacks happening from some bad actor behind a computer screen in some other country. And oftentimes there are circumstances where physical infiltration is a problem. So you really have to make sure your facilities are very, very locked down to prevent folks from, gaining unauthorized access. And, really part of it is that, making sure that folks are signed into the facility. We're asking for identification. We're empowering our staff to, if somebody looks like they shouldn't be there or they're not identified appropriately, that they ask why they're there and who they are. And so it's really, in many cases, it's practices that should be done generally speaking, but it is a culture change, right? You're really having to make sure that folks be aware that if they see something that's funny or it doesn't look right, that they actually say something and they report that so that we can make sure these facilities are maintained and not have bad actors that infiltrate to do bad things.
Well, there's other things that could happen. An employee could be threatened outside, maybe
Yeah.
hostage situation. What do they do?
Yeah.
Maybe they could
Yeah, absolutely.
protect their family.
A lot of different variety of threats out there. So yes, we're really double down on that approach and really just sort of making sure we're doing everything we can to secure those facilities and keep our employees safe.
Cool.
Any other questions from staff? On the commission? All right. So anyone from the public would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? All right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, next is item 6.4, Roseville Utility Exploration Center update, presentation by Utility Exploration Center Supervisor Braden Mitchell, providing an overview of Roseville Utility Exploration Center's activities for information.
All right, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and give you a kind of an update, a review, year in review, really, of the Utility Exploration Center. So I have just a few items to cover tonight. That is, I want to talk, of course, about our grand reopening of the Visitor Center. I've given you some reviews last time around about the work in progress, and this last year, 2024, we were able to reopen. So I'll cover that briefly. I want to talk about our League of Explorers after-school program. Of course, also our K through 12 school programs and cover that for 2024. I want to cover our workshops and then wrap up with a couple of our community events, Earth Night, and then, as I have to do, I will have some great pictures to share from our Big Truck Summer to conclude my presentation tonight. So to go ahead and dive in, our Visitor Center, this is kind of the culmination in 2024 of a over 2-year-long project of revamping, revitalizing our center. A lot of the old exhibits just needed a breath of fresh life breathed into them. So in December of 2023, we actually got to a point where we closed the center for remodel. So everything was designed, everything was built. We just needed to close down for about 3.5 months to bring in all those new exhibits, take out the old exhibits that we weren't reusing. And so we closed December of 2023 and then reopened on April 6th of 2024. For our grand reopening event, we had about 1,000 of our closest friends come out and join our reopening ceremony. So I just have a few pictures I wanted to share with you guys from that ceremony. So to start with, we had a ribbon cutting in front of our new entryway for the Utility Exploration Center. We had some of our council members as well as Utility Exploration Center staff and our utility partners there to cut that ribbon and open it up to the community. And to be honest with you, the best part about it was seeing all of those residents and families come back into the center and start exploring those exhibits for the first time. Just the smiles on their faces as they're looking at things like our big welcome map, which kind of lays out all the utility infrastructure throughout the city, to them climbing through our new and improved trash pile with a little kind of clear plastic dome you can pop up inside of. We had kids in the corner playing with our grid infrastructure. So they were like grid managers, making sure there's energy provided throughout the city, keeping all those lights flowing around. To, of course, our large actual front end of a garbage truck. We worked with Fleet to create this exhibit. And both little kids, like you see in the picture here, to those big kids at heart right there. might recognize that face. Everyone loved kind of checking out these exhibits, and it just was awesome to be able to reopen and see that engagement. So what does that really look like as far as numbers and attendance-wise for the center? You can see in FY23 and FY24, overall, over the course of those two fiscal years, our attendance was about the same, which when you look at just straight numbers, it's like, okay, yeah, so it's pretty stagnant. But the amazing part in my mind is we closed for those 3 months. So that was Q3 of FY24, and then that fourth quarter of FY24, we more than made up for those 3 months of closures. So we almost doubled our attendance in that quarter from the previous year. We are still seeing about a 70% increase overall as you compare month to the previous year. And what that means, since we reopened in April of 2024 till December of 2024, so not even a full year, we've already served over 39,000 visitors just in our visitor center, which, comparing those to those other two numbers, you can see is already a considerable uptick in visitation. So we knew we were going to see a spike. We just didn't know that it was going to be able to sustain that for as long as it has, which tells me that we really just did a great job. All parties concerned did a great job on designing and building this center in an engaging way, and folks are coming back, bringing their friends and family and everyone else to visit us time and time again. So that's our visitor center. Again, super excited about that aspect of it. And if you all haven't been able to see it yet, please do come out. If you've been out to see it, come back out and come see it again.
It's pretty cool.
We'll definitely have
really
everyone
great
out.
job.
Thank you. Thank you. We're super excited about it. But that's just one component of what the Utility Exploration Center does. So the rest of the time, I'd like to talk about some of those programs and activities and community events that we provide. One of those is our League of Explorers program, which we started 2 years ago. That's an after-school program. It's targeted at 7 to 11-year-olds. And what we do is we provide monthly activity kits for those kids to bring home and do utility-based experiments at home. We give them all the materials they need, we give them directions, and they can pick those kits up every month. And then at the end of the month, they can sign up for science labs where they come into the Utility Exploration Center, work with our team, and do some experiments that maybe we need a little more components for, stuff you wouldn't find at home. That program has been well received as well. You can see we grew that program by maybe a little over 100 people last year, so we served just over 1,000 through that program in FY24. Then rolling into our school programs, which is really kind of one of the core components of the Utility Exploration Center. I'm going to break this into 3 parts, really. We have our kindergarten through 5th grade program, which has been a mainstay for us. We have students that will come out, like you see in the image here, come out and tour through the new exhibits, learning all about utilities and the day in the life of a utility worker. We will go into the classroom for 2nd grade and 4th grade visits. We have traveling trunks, which is a whole kit of materials and lesson plans for teachers to check out for 4th and 5th grade. And then we have lesson materials or free materials and lesson plans for every grade level, K through 5, for teachers to download and implement in their classroom. You can see in FY23 to 24 that we did have a reduction in the total number of students that we served through just the kindergarten through 5th grade. You'll kind of understand that in the next few slides, but basically we made a concerted effort to make some space to serve middle school and high school students as well. We wanted to expand to be able to serve students from kindergarten all the way through high school and beyond. So by doing that, we made some space for those other grades. The next group is our middle school students. That's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We piloted that program. I talked about that in my last presentation last year in 23, and it was very successful. So we fully rolled that out to all of our middle schools here in Roseville this last year. For 6th grade, we talk about water conservation and water quality. In 7th grade, we talk about food waste and gas emissions. And in 8th grade, we talk about energy sources and energy conservation. Each one of those grade levels, after they receive a program from us, we challenge them to take action, take what they learned, and then produce something for us. So in 6th grade, we challenge them to make a poster about water conservation. In 7th grade, we challenge them to make a social media post explaining about food waste and food reductions. And in 8th grade, we challenge them to audit their school. school and come up with energy conservation ways, programs that they can implement on their campus. So you can see from our pilot year, we served just over 500, to last year we served 1,800 students throughout here at Roseville. And a couple of the gals right there in the image, they're from our Take Action Awards, which we do in May. And they are 7th grade students that won the award. We voted on all of their projects, and they won an award for their social media posts for waste reduction. And then in high school, we get into our field day programs and kind of getting kids to become a little more aware of the potential of utilities as a career. So field day we've been running for a few years now. We do that program twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall, and that's really designed to promote utility careers. And I'll talk a little bit more about field day here in a minute. We also last year expanded out to offer field trips of both the Roseville Energy Park and the Pleasant Grove Wastewater Treatment Plant. So we worked with our high school science teachers to bring their students out to be able to tour these facilities. And really what that does, that gives them a real world example of all of the concepts and ideas they're learning in the classroom to see how those are implemented in real life and what's going on in their community. So with rolling all of that up together, in FY23, you see we served about 100, whereas last year we served over 400 of those students. And if we could just pause on this slide, just give me one extra second here. The student in that picture, the young man right there, that is Tegan Hayward. He has got an identical twin, Caden, but that one is Tegan. Tegan's a really cool kid, and he came out to a field day program a couple years ago, and he loved it so much that he decided he wants to be a part of our utilities. He's still in high school, so he's not with us yet, but he worked with his teachers to come out to a second field day experience, and then he worked through the HR department to get into the high school internship program and interned with our water efficiency division over the summer this last year. And so I just saw this picture in here, and I wanted to say this kid is going to be working for utilities someday. You'll definitely see him sitting there. So thank you for the aside. I think that's a kind of a cool story to share out. With those high school programs and specifically promoting those utility careers, one additional thing that we've been working on with West Park High School is have them develop a career and technical ed pathway, a CTE pathway, specifically for utilities. And so this last August of 2024, they rolled out their CTE pathway, energy, environment, and utilities. This is a multi-year program through that high school with the goal of getting students to be truly interested and then kind of learn all the ins and outs of those utilities and hopefully have a career here in Roseville in our utility departments. So we're super excited that they went down that pathway. We're here to support everything that they do and provide those education opportunities as best we can for those students. Our field day program had won a few awards last year that I'm very proud of. Our team does an amazing job in partnership with our utilities for those programs. So we won the Excellence in Public Outreach and Education Award from CASA, and then we also won a Savvy Award from 3CMA. And while these are great, and I love having them on my trophy shelf, what it truly does is it kind of puts eyes from across the state on programs like this. And so because of these, I worked with some of our partner municipal utilities down in Southern California that they wanted to develop their own career field day. And so I gave them some of the tips and tricks, some lessons learned from putting these programs together. And I'm happy to say that this last October of 24, that those 3 utilities listed up there were able to put together their first utility career day. And I talked with them afterwards, congratulated them on pulling all that together, and they were just ecstatic. They thought it was a great day. They loved all the engagement they got with their high school students and community college students, and they're looking to continue that program probably year over year for the foreseeable future. So I'm just excited that we were successful and we were able to share that success and help others along the way as well. So I do have some pictures just to share and just kind of, again, highlight that award-winning program, our career field day, utility field day. Starting out, of course, with our waste services department. Students got to get out and get hands-on with some of those different garbage trucks, pulling levers, lifting up those barrels, dumping them into the back. I mean, these are experiences, hopefully, that kids will never forget. And they'll be driving down the street and say, oh, I got to operate one of those a while back. So we have them out there. We also brought them through our wastewater collections and and maintenance crews get hands-on with the different tools and stuff that they use day in and day out to do their job, get behind a backhoe and operate that. We also had them out in our electric pole yard. And they learned about all the safety and everything that goes on with the electric utility to make sure that those crews are safe, that they're keeping each other safe as well as community members safe. They get hands-on with the different equipment and got to see even how heavy some of those training programs are, like the safety dummy right there. And then we also had them out with our water utilities, our water distribution and water efficiency divisions, where they learned all about leaks, from fixing leaks on water mains to listening for even just that small little leak when you're doing a WaterWise house call, either like a leaky faucet or a toilet flap that was malfunctioning or something like that. So just giving them a kind of a full hands-on experience. And our goal is really just kind of spark that interest. We always say, man, if we make it to the dinner table, that is success. So if a student gets home at the end of the day and whoever they have dinner with, their parent, their guardian, their friends, whoever it is, they say, hey, how was school today? And they get a better answer than, no, it was fine. That's success for us. So if they say, man, I got to listen for a leak today. I got to operate a hot stick. Do you even know what that is? And if they start that conversation, I think that's really cool. So that's our goal with the field day, to spark that interest and get those kids interested and aware of all the amazing programs that there are and careers that there are. So let's wrap all of those school programs together, looking holistically at our kindergarten through 12th grade program. And you can see the last 2 years that we're hitting right about the same number of students, just over 7,000 total students served. Again, to kind of think back into that K-5 program and that reduction, that's because we had to make room, like I said, for middle school and high school. So still overall serving the same number of students here in Roseville, which is basically capacity for us. So we've reached capacity. We're always looking at making sure that that quality is great, but we're at our capacity for the total number of students that we can serve. The great thing for this year is we actually filled up our year faster than we ever have before. So we actually filled this current school year by November of 2024. So we're excited about it. That means our teachers are loving our programs, our students are loving our programs. But learning doesn't stop when you graduate high school, right? You always learn. And so we have a series for our adult learners as well, for residents here in Roseville, and that's our workshops. We have workshops throughout the year on topics from water conservation, energy conservation, organic waste. And this last year, we worked really hard to increase the total number of workshops that we were able to provide. So you can see we went all the way up to just over 40 workshops that we provided in FY24. That, of course, correlated to an increase in the total number of participants in those workshops. More workshops, you get more participants. So we're thinking we're about at capacity with our total number there, but always looking for just little ways that we can tweak and improve. So to wrap up is our community events. In general, we have 2 large community events that we host every year. These are opportunities for us to connect our utilities with our residents in a fun, family, engaging environment, and really kind of also educate along the way about utilities and how we can all partner to work together with these. So that's our Earth Night event, which this last year we served just over 800 people. And then, of course, one of my favorites, our Big Truck Summer event in the month of June. So with Earth Night, this was our 2nd year providing this event, and we were out at Wood Creek Golf Course on the driving range, so nice big flat green area. We had a band, we had families, we had our utility partners out, and folks who come out and ask questions and just learn more about what goes on behind the scenes to make the city run. And really, it was just a great night to come out and enjoy the evening, enjoy the earth, and enjoy our Roseville utilities. And if you haven't made it out, then please do come out this year. If you have, you'll know that you already want to come out this year. And so this year it'll be on April 17th. So I invite everyone to come out and join us again at Wood Creek Golf Course on April 17th. And then, as promised, Big Truck Summer and pictures of cute kids. You can see the kid in the center there really enjoying himself at this year's, 2024 Big Truck Summer. So again, this event is in the month of June. Every Thursday in the month of June, we highlight different utilities. We kicked off the series this last year with our water utility, where they did some demonstrations on how they dig down and fix any leaks in those water mains. And then we turned off all those trucks, made them safe, and let the kids come up and get an up-close look at all the tools that they use day to day. Second up, we had our wastewater utility. They did some great demos showing how they keep all that wastewater in those pipes. They inspect those pipes because we don't want that stuff to get out of there. We want it to just go straight down to our treatment plants. And they let the kids look at, once they were cleaned up, of course, looked at some of that CCTV equipment that they can get down into those pipes and drive around. And then third, we had our waste services utility. Little kids love garbage trucks. Big kids love garbage trucks. And so we had a garbage truck parade. We showed a lot of the different trucks and capabilities there. And we even talked to the kids and families about some of those materials that maybe don't go in the one big bin, like hazardous waste and stuff like that, and what you should do with those. And then rounding out our series this last year, we had our electric utility out. They did some amazing demonstrations on safety, what to do with Mylar balloons and hold on to those things real tight. You don't want those to escape and interact with our power lines, what to do around down power lines, and they did some other safety demonstrations as well. And then, of course, once they were done with all their demonstrations, let the kids come up and climb inside and meet the utility workers as well as check out those big trucks. So how did things shape up? There's always a little bit of rivalry going on with our utility departments, but yet again, our waste services department is kind of holding the crown on the total number of folks coming out. It's something about those weekly garbage truck visits for every household here in the city. They saw just over 1,400 people come out in that 2-hour event. Electric utility and our wastewater utility saw 900 people come out to their 2-hour event, and water had a respectable 750 come out to theirs. So we saw around 4,000 total people come out over the course of the month of June. And with that, I'd like to say again, thank you for giving me an opportunity to give you kind of a year in review from the Utility Exploration Center. Our team absolutely loves everything that we do, of kind of peeling that curtain back, showcasing all the amazing work that goes on behind the scenes with our utilities, and working with our residents in ways that they can partner with our utilities to make sure that our city continues to run as smoothly as it always does. So with that, thank you again for the time, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Great presentation. Very good. Really
Thank you.
Thank you. This is, we got the Science Center downtown that costs as much as to go to Disneyland to go to, and this is all free.
Yeah.
And it's a great entree into science, because you guys are bored with biology, chemistry, and physics, right? Really? So, I mean, you go to something like this, and you get excited about science, and you find out here's an applicable use of chemistry, here's an applicable use of physics, and there's some biology thrown in there as well. So, thank you.
Yeah, my middle daughter's one of your volunteers now, and she says the second graders and the fourth graders are adorable, and she likes her last Saturday programs. If you didn't, can you bring the little car, the solar car? I mean, that's a great project.
Yeah, that's our fourth grade program, and some of the League of Explorers programs will actually build solar cars. We talk about solar panels and pros and cons with that, and sunny days and clouds and all that. But then we're building a car, and then we go out and race those cars, right? And that's those memorable experiences.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that she volunteers with us. Thank you.
She has a goal to get involved in pollution control. She has a mechanical engineering degree from Cal Poly Pomona.
Excellent.
So when she's in there, she's like, oh, I can answer that question.
Perfect.
So,
That's exactly what we need. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Any other commissioners? Anyone from the public would like to come forward and speak to this item? Okay, all right. Thank you, Braden. Just thank you so much. Next on the agenda is board member, commissioner, staff reports. Anybody have a report?
I had a comment. I was reading the GIM from the electric department, and the AMI program, we got it fully in, and I think it would be interesting to have a presentation on it, like, what is staff using it for? Are we learning things? Are we doing cool stuff? Or anyway, it seemed like a topic, and I don't want to rush you before it's ripe, because it's a new tool and maybe it's not ripe, but maybe sometime this next year we could do that.
Yeah, we'll coordinate with Roseville Electric on that topic. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Any other reports from staff? Anything? All right. Questions or comments from the commission? All right. So we got that for the future. And I guess I can call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, I take it. We are adjourned. Thank you all so much. Do you gentlemen need us to sign something for you?